everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and dinosaur enthusiast here with what will probably be my final video guide to Jurassic World Evolution. And with this video we're going to be taking a look at the fifth and final island of the main campaign, Isla Sorna, which is I believe the location of Jurassic Park 2 and 3, Lost World and Jurassic Park 3. And this one is, I think, technically the biggest island, although it's situated, it still doesn't give you a huge area for building. You have to be careful about where exactly you're going to place everything. It is definitely the largest overall and the most challenging for sure because of the missions. The missions demand you create a lot of different dinosaurs and house them for a set number of time, and that can create a lot of headaches. So we're going to be jumping in here. I have already reached 5 stars. It has taken me a long time. As you can see, and this is an interesting fact, as we spawn in, I still have one of my contracts as maintain an island rating of 5.0 stars. I probably hit 5 stars like 45 minutes to an hour ago, and this quest is only for 3 minutes. So in that time, I've only actually hit 5 stars for like, what is that, like 2.5 minutes or something? So it's pretty hard to even maintain 5. But for the purposes of unlocking the 5-star reward, you only have to hit it for like a second. You don't have to sit there and stay on 5 stars unless, of course, you have this particular contract, which doesn't matter. But you can see by the amount of money I have and the amount of my reputation's full that I have been on this island for a very, very long time. Jurassic World Evolution is a very surprisingly time-consuming game. I think I am, in fact, I don't think you can see my overlay right now, but I am at 37 hours right now total. Pretty long game, and this island is definitely the longest. So we're going to start off. Now this one is weird because you start off with this area right here, and it's all fenced in on itself, and then the entire island is open and actually has some dinosaurs already put in there. There's herds of Stegosauruses and then a single Spinosaurus wandering around, which I think is a nod to Jurassic Park 3. And the problem is, obviously, the Spinosaurus will eventually kill a bunch of Stegos, and then probably the Stegos will eventually kill the Spinosaurus, so you can't really rely on those too much. Also, you can technically, as soon as you build the AC unit, trank those Stegosauruses and Spinosaurus, and then move them and have them be starter dinosaurs, which can be useful, but the Stegosauruses are a pain in the ass. They are, shockingly, one of the most social dinosaurs in the game, which means if you have less than 5 Stegosauruses in an enclosure, they will just freak out and bust out and just cause all kinds of headaches. And I discovered this the hard way because obviously you want to use those dinosaurs that are already there as a head start, but it is a pain in the ass to keep Stegosauruses happy, because if you have 5 and then one of them dies, then all the other 4 are going to get pissed. You have to kind of have more than 5, and it's a nightmare. So they're useful in the beginning, but they cause a lot of headaches to where I don't think I have any Stegosauruses left right now. Alright, so let's take a look at what I have done here. So at least in this area I originally thought, okay, this will be a neat idea. We're going to enclose the park part and then leave everything else open, just have this huge open area for the dinosaurs to roam. That's a neat idea, but unfortunately in order to get 5 stars you need a number of facilities, you know, hotels and all the drinks and food and the monorail, and it's just impossible to try to work that around with having gigantic enclosures full of animals. Is the way the game is designed, so you still kind of have to rely on the having, you know, zoo-like pens everywhere and then a path. Now on the southern part, I'll show you that one. I kind of played around with a little bit with a much bigger area, but still I kind of had to go back to the normal. So I eventually just abandoned that, deleted all that little fencing. You can see I eventually have my monorail. You always want to have your monorail at the beginning for sure. And otherwise, and so the map is basically made up of 3 quadrants, because there's this giant unbuildable mountain in the middle of your zone. You have this northeast quadrant where you start off. There's one in the northwest, which is about the same size as this one, and there's one in the south, which is probably twice as big as both of them. So it's kind of like this triangle formation. So in here I've got, what do I have? 2 enclosures right here, and then the paths that go west and south. And this has all my, you know, usual facilities. You've got your Expedition Center, Fossil Center, Research Center, which I have actually deactivated my Research Center because, you know, pro tip, power is a concern because you only have a certain amount of things you can build on this island, and you don't want to have to build too many power stations if you don't need them. So a better idea is to turn things off if you're not using them and kind of cycle that power around. Like hatcheries, you're not always using hatcheries, especially once an enclosure is established. You can just deactivate it. So you can go in here in this little, for some reason it's an ellipses. I guess it's the more, but the only thing under more is deactivation. It lets you essentially just turn that place off. So obviously here, I've researched everything in the game. I'm at the end game now. I don't need my research anymore. I could literally just delete that. I think technically I've got one more fossil I haven't gotten yet, but I have to get on another island. So eventually I could just delete that, but for now I'm deactivated it. Alright, let's look at what the enclosures actually are up here. So these have kind of switched around a bunch. I think I actually originally had the Stegos in this one, and they were just a huge fucking headache. So to replace them, I put in a number of Camarasaurus, which are similar to Stegos, but not quite as a pain in the ass. A pair of Chunkingosauruses, which I believe you need just 2 of them to be happy. And then a number of Chasmosauruses, which are kind of like the pterosaurs. They also need a couple. So basically just a couple of medium herbivores in here. These are all, they require, between like 8 and 10 maximum. So this is a good one to do in a smaller enclosure. They're all friendly with each other. I do have to be wary because some of them, like look at that Chasmosaurus, very, very specific amount of Chasmosauruses. You need, I think, 3. But if you have more than 5, they freak out. So you have to be very careful. And look at the population is almost maxed on this one. So if I could afford 1 more single dinosaur in here, but then if I do 2 more, all of my Chasmosauruses will freak out. So you have to maintain a very strict population control. God, this one also sucks with the amount of storms here. In fact, I'm gonna have to spend a second to refill some of these. I mean, you have like tornadoes that break things up. There are things, you can do everything right in this island, and this island will still throw things at you to mess you up, which is good. I mean, this is kind of the final islands. You expect the challenge. Structure damaged, great. Also, this is the first and only island where I've actually built 2 ranger stations, because I just needed to cover that much island, and it would take so long for one. The AC you can kind of get away with it because it's a helicopter, so it can fly around, but the Rangers, they gotta drive that Jeep, and I didn't want to have, if I needed to repair a fence, I didn't want to have somebody all the way up in this corner have to drive all the way down, around to like down here. So I think having 2 Ranger stations separated is worth having, and even then, I think I have 3 Jeeps on each one. This is a big island, you're gonna need that. Alright, so for the bottom one, this was originally a Ceratosaurus enclosure, and I think it was something else before that, I don't remember. I think I had a bunch of Pachycephalosauruses and Dracorex probably, just, more low population guys. Eventually I threw a Ceratosaurus in here because one of the missions, I think it's either entertainment or security, requires you to put a bunch of predators, like super predators, so that can kind of fuck you up. So definitely do those missions as quickly as you can before you start filling in all your enclosures, because those missions will require you to put specific dinosaurs all over your island. Especially, it's either security or entertainment I think both of them require you to have multiple like super alpha predators on your island. So if you already have all these established enclosures, then you do that, you will just have to kill all those other dinosaurs if you want to complete those missions. So try and get those missions done first, follow their directions, and then once you've got that finished, it's less, I need to fix this one, it should be less of a pain in the ass. Repair, please. Alright, so right now, I literally had a Ceratosaurus in here, and I was doing that thing where I was kind of feeding it herbivores to up its combat rating, and then at some point, a Polacanthus killed it. These guys normally have a rating of like 1 something, and look at that, its combat infamy was plus 240 because it killed my Ceratosaurus. I had no idea this guy could do that. I wish I would have seen that fight. And now his like star rating is insane. It's like up there with like a low T-Rex or something. I'm like, alright, well he's the new star of this enclosure, and so I threw in a bunch of just low Dilophosauruses, because you can actually put in little carnivores with the medium herbivores, and they will not jack with each other. They'll actually be pretty stable. So another mixed zone right here, and then we go to the western part. You can see the monorail goes this direction, and I also did stick a hotel up at the entrance too. That's an easy one because there's a bunch of facilities there. And here's where I actually put my ranger station. So I have no ranger station in the beginning area. I have this one up here. I did mute my music, did I not? I'm a little worried there. Okay, mute licensed music. We're good. So this ranger station is meant to cover basically this side, and then I have one on the southern half that's meant to cover all that. So over on the left, we have another hotel, a bunch of facilities surrounding it, another power station, and like I said, the ranger station, and then there's two big enclosures here. The left one is meant to house one big predator, and the right one is just a big mixture of herbivores. It's easy to see them on the map screen here. Each one has their own creation lab. This one is a lot of the, what do you call it, Mutaburasaurus, which they require like half a dozen. They're, I think, the most social herbivores of them all. And then there's a couple, what is it, Parasaurolophus, and some Brachiosauruses, and even a Diplodocus. So just a couple of different social. This is probably, I don't know if I could actually fit more in here or not. What's the population like? Yeah, I could probably even put more herbivores in there if I wanted to. Brachiosaurus, you're so big. So yeah, I could actually probably put more herbivores in there. On the left side, this used to be a T-Rex, my beloved T-Rex that killed so many other predators and then eventually died of old age, so I just put a Spinosaurus in here for now, but it's always just got one big predator, and I kind of feed it other herbivores to keep its combat rating up, just to add some variety. But again, when you're doing those entertainment and security missions, it'll tell you exactly which ones it wants. It wants like Spinosaurus, it wants Indominus Rex, it wants T-Rex, and you're going to have to fill out all those areas. And that's definitely one of the pens you're going to have to use. I think that pen I used, this pen I used for Ceratosaurus. I'm pretty sure I just threw one of the predators in here and just let them go to town. So, I mean, it sucks to do those missions, but do them, complete them, and then go back to doing what you were doing, because you have to build a lot of predators that are going to eat your stuff. The amount of hotels you need on this island is staggering. If you have enough hotels, you'll probably need more hotels. In fact, if I go right here, yeah, okay capacity. I'm at 15,000 people, and it's like, you could probably use more hotels. Like, really? My crowding is 22%. That's crazy. But the biggest thing I had to do was just keep building hotels, keep building hotels. And when you build a hotel, make sure it's got stuff around it. You want your hotels, ideally you want all these things together. You want hotels, galleries, and facilities all next to each other as much as possible. There's just clusters of little zones of all these things, and that's what's going to make your rating go up and make people happy, as well as have a monorail station drop off at every one of these points. So you can see here I've got monorail stations exiting at all these hotels. So that is the northwest section. Then we get to the southern section. Here we have the monorail continues to these two spots. Look at this, multiple hotels down here, 3 of them, all with their own facilities. I literally just grouped up a bunch of facilities right here next to this hotel, and you can see on the management view kind of what all these different places are looking for. Why do you need food? I just built a restaurant there. You guys suck. Ideally, you want everything like in the blue, basically. Should be the goal. I actually did fit an innovation center here. I don't really like this one just because it's so big and takes up so much room compared to the other ones that give you money. And money is not a big deal once you get to like the halfway point in an island. Like, you just don't, money is just not a concern anymore for me at all. I could never spend this much money if I tried. So what I did here, part of the challenge with, I think it's the science mission on this one, is you have to house a bunch of dinosaurs in the same enclosure. So you have to have a really big enclosure to house a bunch of them, including a predator. I think it's a Metracanthosaurus. And the way I did it is, if you notice, this is all one big enclosure. It's kind of this horseshoe shape right here. If we look on the map, this is technically all connected. So I could make a bunch of herbivores over here, all the ones I needed, which was like I don't know, you needed like Stegosaurus and Pentriceratops and just a bunch of different, it says on there in the mission. And then I built the Metracanthosaurus over here. There's 2 creation labs on either side, vastly separated. Now, eventually, yes, even if you have things over here for the predator to eat, it will wander over here at some point and start attacking it. But that gives you time. That gives you time to fill out this one of herbivores, and you can continuously just dart that guy or her when she comes over here and move her physically back over here. Eventually, it'll give you the mission where once you have everything enclosed together, a timer starts down. And if they're darted, if they're tranked, the timer stops. You do have to have them moved over there, but you can sit there and do that. The other thing you can do, and I think I did this towards the end when I had like 40 seconds left, is just drive a Jeep over there and just heal dinosaurs as they're attacking each other. And eventually, unless the Metracanthosaurus can kill them that quickly, it'll wander off from that fight as long as both dinosaurs actually survive. So you can just sit there and heal them until the timer goes down. Otherwise, I would definitely not recommend mixing any kind of predator with this mixed herbivore, because it will just go nuts, unfortunately. Even if its food thing is totally full, the predators will absolutely hunt and kill as much as they can. Or if you have something like, Triceratops or Stegosaurus or the armored herbivores, eventually the predator will kill itself on them because it'll just keep fighting them, and one of the herbivores eventually just tear it down. So that can be tricky. And that's just the missions. That's not even getting 5 stars. For 5 stars, you mainly want a shit ton of hotels. You need a good variety of dinosaurs. This was actually bigger. This was just a very little section right here, and this was all more, and I had to slowly expand because the game kept wanting more and more hotels. So finally you can see I literally just did this little chunk down here and made this bigger, put a monorail down here, added this hotel down here with its own facilities, and this hotel here, because I just needed more and more hotels. And you can see I'm still just hovering at like 4 point something. It's actually this one has been quite frustrating. It still says okay capacity. So like, I don't know. And it'll just be occasionally I'll bump up to 5. And I'm like, oh yeah, you reached 5, yay. And then I'll go back down to 4 point something. So it can be very frustrating, but again, you only have to hit 5 stars for like a hot second in order to actually unlock the 5-star achievement and actually have like the credits roll and everything. Although the credits will also roll if you complete all the missions on this island, having completed obviously all the previous missions. So either one is considered completing the game. But yeah, so this one, I guess we haven't actually looked at the dinosaurs I have here now, which these have changed. The biggest pain in the ass also when having to do the mixed one was those Pentra. Which one is that one? It's the one that looks like Triceratops. Starts with a P. Pentraceratops. These guys, you need to put, I think it's part of the science mission, you have to put them in with a bunch of other dinosaurs, and they do not, they're like the other ones I had above, where they only like about 10 other dinosaurs, and I had like 15 in here, so immediately those guys would start freaking out and breaking out constantly, and that was a pain in the ass. And luckily you only have to have them all in there for like 3 minutes, and I think it was just a combination of tranking them, moving them as far to this corner as possible, and literally letting time count down. And probably not the most efficient thing to do, but because the enclosure was so big, it actually did literally take them a while to get over here and break the fence. I think I do need more Apatosauruses, because I just lost a bunch. I've played so long where I've lost a bunch of my original dinosaurs to old age. Although they're... okay, yeah, they're minimum social, so let's get some more in there. So this one is just another big mixed grouping of herbivores. There's Apatosaurus, Ceratosaurus, what is this one? Centaurosaurus. All the hadrosaurs that like each other. There's a couple Huangosaurus. And you can see what I've actually done here, and I think they can actually get past this, which is why I have the fences keep going along. And again, my initial idea was to actually fence off the people from the dinosaurs and have the dinosaurs have as much land as possible, because I like that concept. It's like more of a nature preserve than a zoo. Which I think I kind of established down here. I mean, this is a giant area, which is fun. Unfortunately, you can't fence it that way. You have to literally fence it like all the way up here, because technically the dinosaurs can just go around this area, even though you can't build your fence beyond the buildable zone. But the dinosaurs can, I believe, go around this. At least they did it on the northwest when I tried to do this. So to be wary of that, I just kept building the fence up here. And really, they won't stray too far. The only time they'll get freaked out is if you have a helicopter flying above trying to trank somebody in here, or if a storm comes in. That's the only reason they would really stray away from their herd. And occasionally it does happen. I'll have somebody wander up here that I'll have to trank, or I'll have one of them end up over here, which is also bad because they're away from their own kind, and then they'll start freaking out because they're alone. Because again, this is all connected. So, what's this one's problem? Oh, see, this stupid dinosaur. He's like, oh no, the forest. I'm out of forest. So I do have to kind of baby these big enclosures somewhat and make sure they are not straying too far from this central area where all the food is. And I've got obviously lots of viewing galleries and the gyro stations and stuff. On the left side, I've kind of played around with different things to have over here, and I just randomly settled on doing Camarasaurus. They need a lot of forest, which they were always really one of the most pain in the ass. They need a ton of forest. And I had them in here. You can see I still have my predator feeders in here because I had, whenever I had to mix predators and herbivores for the missions. And then I just shoved a bunch of Spinosaurus, which is the weirdest dinosaur. I have to look at that name twice to figure out how to pronounce it. Also in here just because I think that was part of a contract and whatever else. So you can mix most herbivores together without an issue. The biggest thing you have to look for is that population and social numbers. So this is the minimum amount I have to have, which I have 4 of these right now. So if I have any less than 4, they'll freak out, but they're generally fine with more population as well. But I mean, that's basically 5 stars on Isla Sorna, and getting, again, you want to do those missions as quickly as possible because they will force you to have certain dinosaurs in certain enclosures. So you want to do those missions before you start spending all your money filling out these enclosures. And you certainly don't need this big of an enclosure. I just thought it was neat because Isla Sorna does give you this kind of room, and it's kind of neat to have the nature preserve angle. But to be more efficient, I would probably actually make this a lot smaller and build like another hotel over here, because the game just wants more hotels. And I bet as soon as I built like an 8th hotel, I would get that 5 star. That 5 star rating right there. And I think both the security and entertainment missions are pretty similar, where they both want you to have big predators, multiple predators in certain spots, whereas the science one is just having one big enclosure with a bunch of herbivores and then one predator. And that one is very helpful to have this big area to where it takes a while for that predator to get over there, and then you can trank the predator and move it back over here, for example, and kind of baby it. So the missions aren't too hard, but definitely do them before you fill out all your enclosures. And then on your way to 5 stars, the biggest tips are still the same thing. It's dinosaurs is rarely an issue. You almost always, if you go here and look at your island rating, your dinosaur rating is probably almost always 5 stars, unless your dinosaurs are actively eating people or breaking out, in which case you'll take hits to your probably welfare penalty. Varieties, just having a lot, dinosaurs. I've got 66 dinosaurs right now, so that's plenty. It's always the facilities. It's always the facilities are going to kill you. You need more hotels. Make sure you go into these all your places and go to little tabs and make sure that the staff is at the proper number. If you just build it for the first time, it always defaults to the lowest number, so you make sure that's higher, so that's actually more people can go into those places. And some of these, like the fossil zone and the fast food, can only do 600, 900 people, whereas the restaurant can do 1,200. So it's pretty much almost always better to build a restaurant than fast food in general. And same thing, it's better to have, I think, a clothes shop rather than like a gift shop or a toy shop in general. I still like having a bit of variety just for whatever purposes, but definitely make sure those are all serving as many people as possible, and hopefully you should be able to hit 5 stars at some point. I'm a little annoyed it's never hit 5 stars at all. Look at that, that's the test right now while I've even been doing this stream. So I probably would need another hotel again, which is super annoying, or just I could try to build a bunch of dinosaurs, but I bet it's just facilities. I bet I would have to make this smaller and build yet another hotel. As my population levels go up, essentially the demand for 5 stars goes up as well, so it gets trickier and trickier to get 5 stars, which is why it's easier to get 5 stars on an island like Isla Pena, which is super small and tiny. You only need like, one hotel on that island because it's super tiny and you can only do so much on that one. So, but yeah, that is my 5-star and a mission guide for Isla Sorna, and that will probably bring an end to my video guides for Jurassic World Evolution, which is a game that I absolutely adore and definitely recommend for any fans of builder sims, Planet Coaster style especially. Doesn't quite go into the depth and modability and customization, but the dinosaur, all the things with the dinosaurs are just fabulous and fun, and I love it. I love dinosaurs. Alright, so that'll do it on my Jurassic World Evolution video. Thanks.